Hello everyone, welcome back to Vickie's Country Home. It's Memorial Day. I'm also making a video, actually Brian's doing most of it, about how to smoke ribs and the barbecue rub recipe, so he's doing that. I'm going to be making a cake for dessert, and I found a recipe for a strawberry almond flour cake on King Arthur Flour website. It sounds wonderful. It sounds perfect for what we want. I'm gonna change it up just a little bit on how it's assembled, so we'll get to that later. So let's get started making this almond flour cake. All right, I have my oven preheating to 350 degrees. And I have an 8-inch cake pan that I have lightly greased with butter. And again, anyone that knows me, I save my butter wrappers when I use the butter, and they're perfect for things like this. So just lightly greased with that. And then you take 2 tablespoons of sugar. I use my raw sugar, so it's not pure white. And we're just going to sprinkle that over the bottom of the pan. And set this aside. Now what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and mix together my dry ingredients so I can get them out of the way. I have 1 1/4 cups of almond flour. And then it calls for 1 tablespoon of coconut flour. All right, we're going to put 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And we're going to whisk these together. Now I have this tiny little whisk because my other one was used to make the barbecue rub and it's still wet, so I don't want to use it. All right, we're going to set these dry ingredients aside. And now I have separated 4 large eggs, and I'm going to take the egg yolks in my large mixing bowl and 1/4 cup of sugar. This is 1/2 cup. We're going to use the other 1/2 cup in a little bit. So I'm just going to eyeball it just to get about 1/2 of that. And whisk these together. And to that, we're going to add, if I can find my measuring spoon, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And we just want to mix that till it's smooth. And the sun just went behind a cloud and it got dark in here, so I'm going to go turn the light on. Being off-grid, we don't use lights during the day unless we absolutely have to, and normally we don't because we have beautiful large windows and doors. Alright, so I'm going to move that aside temporarily. Now in another mixing bowl, There goes my oven coming on. I have the 4 egg whites. And now I'm going to whip up the egg whites until they form soft peaks. So I'm not going to make you listen to that because I'm sure you've seen that before. Alright, I've beaten my egg whites until they've formed soft peaks, almost a little bit past that. And now I'm going to slowly add the remaining cup of sugar. And sorry, remaining 1/4 cup of sugar. Don't add a cup, that would be way too much. Alright, so I have my egg whites beaten with 1/4 cup of sugar, and I have my egg yolks whisked together with 1/4 cup of the sugar plus 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my dry ingredients that I've already mixed together and add them to the egg yolks. And it's going to make a thick dough, which you can see it has done that. Alright, now that I've got my egg yolks and sugar and vanilla and all the dry ingredients, I'm going to start taking about 1/2 cup at a time of the egg white. And fold that in. Now the recipe says to make sure they're fully incorporated each 1/2 cup that you add. So take your time. Because you got a really heavy dough here and you're trying to lighten it up without deflating it completely. So you can see this is already looking very different. And it's much easier after you get that first 1/2 cup in there. Much, much lighter. Alright, this is the last 1/2 cup. And we went from a very thick, heavy batter to a light, fluffy batter. Much, much different. Okay, we're going to put this in the pan now. Alright, I'm going to put this in my preheated oven now at 350 degrees on the center rack, and it's going to bake for about 30 to 35 minutes till it's golden brown, and a toothpick inserted in the center comes out clean. So I'm going to get this in the oven. Alright, my cake came out of the oven and I let it sit on a rack for 5 minutes to cool. Now I'm going to just take a spatula and run it around the edge just to make sure it's loosened. And it's still pretty hot, so you have to be careful here. And I'm going to turn it out onto a cake plate. I think I'm going to do it this way. And it's not loose. Well, it mostly came out just a little bit of the bottom crust. So now I'm going to let this cool completely. And then we'll come back and get this assembled. So my cake is completely cool. So now I'm going to make some mascarpone cream. And I have used this in another recipe, and I'll link to that one up there. And I used puff pastry shells with some salted caramel on it, and they were wonderful. I'm going to use the same mascarpone cream, but I'm not going to use the salted caramel this time. And it's really, really easy to make. You just leave your mascarpone out at room temperature. And I'm just going to go ahead and beat that just a little bit to make it easier to add the other ingredients. Alright, now we're going to add half a cup of heavy cream. And 1/3 of a cup of powdered sugar. And just a pinch of kosher salt. And we want this at medium peak, so I think we're there. This stuff is so good. Alright, let's put this thing together. Alright, I've got my cake all ready. And I'm just going to torte it, which basically just means I'm going to cut it in half. And a serrated knife is best for this. And yeah, I had the fancy little tool that I could just saw through it with a wire, but this is not that big a deal. We're just going to take that off to the side. And we're going to put this mascarpone cream right in the middle. And we're going to reserve a little bit for the top. Put the top back on. Wipe off your crumbs. I'm going to put a dollop right on the top. And we're going to just add a few strawberries. Isn't that beautiful? It's so simple, and I know this is going to be good. But I'll come back and let you know how it is in a little while. Well, we didn't get around to taking any photos or taste test. The flavors are amazing. You'll have to try this. Thank you for watching. God bless, and we'll talk again soon.